Hello everyone and welcome to our post-Ian Hurricane Q&A. My name is Antonette Fazlic with Mobile Home Lady. I will shortly be introducing our special guest, David Holley, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you before we got started. First and foremost, I've never done this before, so bear with me. I will be reading from some notes. I want to make sure we hit all the hot topics, get as many of your questions answered as possible, so I appreciate you being patient. I'm doing the best I can, and I know you guys are too. So I wanted to thank everyone first and foremost for watching this video. I know all of you have a lot of questions. As I said before, we want to touch on as many of them as possible, but we know we won't get through all of them. For now, we want to focus on the hot topics. What's affecting you right now that is most important? What are those topics? Well, we want to know the status of your park. What's going on with that? What options do you have with your home? FEMA, insurance. These have been flooding my inbox for the last 2 weeks. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you to our residents. You guys are the reason we're doing this. Before I introduce our special guest, David Holley, attorney, I'd like to affirm that this video is being recorded today, Monday, October 17th, 2022. So depending on when you're watching this, things may have changed. This video is not intended to give any specific advice. It's just meant to give you guys insights on today's current facts based on Florida law. Everyone's situation is different, so just keep that in mind. Here at Mobile Home Lady, our residents are our community. Some of our very own Mobile Home Lady family were affected by Hurricane Ian. So when I say that we're in this together, we really are in this together. Lastly, I just wanted to point out that the purpose of this recording is to focus our energy positively and with productive output. And with that, I'd like to introduce our attorney, David Holley. Welcome everyone to our post-Ian Hurricane Q&A. I'm here with attorney David Holley. David, I know you, but they don't know you. So would you mind doing a brief overview of who you are and where you work and why you're here?
Sure. So my name is David Holley. I work very closely with Robert Brandt. Both he and myself were general counsel of the FMO, which is the Federation of Manufactured Homeowners. Throughout the state of Florida, we practice at the law firm of Barana, Damsky, Feichthaler, and Sanchez, and are very familiar with mobile home issues, both in litigation in the courtroom, but also with helping you guys through general practical issues that come up on a day-to-day basis with yourselves and the park owners.
Well, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
David, a lot of people are sick and tired of not having any answers regarding the status of their community. I know you don't have all the answers, but what can we tell them? What do you think the length of time will be before we'll start getting some answers? What do you think is a reasonable amount of time?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer. So before I do give an answer, I want to make it very clear that I'm not going to be answering any of these questions in any legal capacity that's pertinent to you individually. I will make myself available for you individually to give real legal advice, but this is just general advice to all of you. Want to disclaim that, and I'll do my best to give general advice that could apply to you. But of course, for any specific questions or anything factually specific, just give us a call and we'll be happy to walk you through with it on an individual basis and give you the attention that you're going to require. To answer your question more thoroughly, the unfortunate answer is I don't know. I don't know when everything is going to have an answer. I can tell you that most of the park owners so far seem to be indicating that they're waiting on Lee County or Charlotte County to give them the answers on whether or not this park is going to be condemned, whether or not there's going to be demolition services come in or what have you. My suggestion is to do what you need to do to protect yourself. Yes, you should open up lines of communication with the park owner and see if you can get an answer faster than I'll get an answer, of course. You'll want to contact your contractors. You'll want to contact a public adjuster. You'll want to reach out to your insurance company. If you are selling your home, you're going to want to continue to talk to your agent and work on selling that home. Do what you can. Understand that you could be in the dark with your park owner for some time while they wait from the county to confirm or deny something. They're not required to give you an answer in a week or 2 weeks, unfortunately. And so some of you might be left without recourse for some time now. There's a lot of financial burden on that. We understand that. If there's anything we can do to help you work through those financial burdens, open up lines of communication with your park owner because you've tried and have failed, we would love to help you with that. The sad reality is that this could go on for for many weeks. It could be up to a month.
Well, it's
And
unprecedented what we're dealing with. It's not
right,
like we can look at other
right.
situations that, this is at least not in this area that I'm aware of. So it's kind of the unknown because it's never happened.
And unfortunately for some individuals, they might be looking at their home that's took on water and are going, I need to remediate now. I need to get in there right now if I'm going to save this home. But they're worried that their park owner is going to deem it condemned. And
Yeah.
all
And
this
it's a lot of work.
cost,
Yeah,
right.
a lot of work, a lot of money.
I don't have the perfect answer. I suppose if it were me in that position, it would be figure out what I need to do and understand what it would cost me and take those values to the park owner and say, I need to spend X amount of dollars within the next few weeks. But should I, if this is going to be condemned, what do you know? What information can I have?
Right.
And just fight as hard as you can for information.
Is there, if a homeowners association, do you think that it would make sense for them to put some pressure on the county if that's what we're waiting on?
Oh, absolutely.
Reaching out to, their, I don't know if it's, the code enforcement or if it's the health department and who makes these decisions, but maybe if enough of them got together and contacted that department to get an answer, maybe that would help.
I would reach out to FEMA. I would reach out to the city. I would reach out to the mayor. I would reach out to your park owner. If it were me, and understanding that most of the individuals that come to my office are not seasonal, they live here year round. This is your home.
Yeah.
This is your property. You might have kids living there. If you're not in a 55 and older community, you might have valued possessions, heirlooms in there. I would do everything I can to make sure I address every issue that I have, and call everybody I can.
Okay.
Yes, urge your association to do that as well.
So we'll find out who we need to contact, and we'll include their information onto the video so everyone knows who they need to contact to put some pressure on them to get us an answer.
Yes.
So we've had a lot of questions about condemnation of parks. One of our hot topics is the status of our communities, the status of our home, our options. So I wanted to address condemnation. What does it mean? Who makes these decisions? Is it the county? Is it the community? Give us a little, if you can shine some light on that.
Sure, and I don't have every answer as far as it goes with condemnation. I would say that it's probably done by the county, not done by the park owner themselves. Your opinions might differ from the county or code enforcement, but as long as county and code enforcement are determining that that it's unlivable, that it's condemnable, likely there'll be an issue ordered, and then your park owner would relay that to you.
Okay. So is there a time frame that a homeowner, I mean, a lot of residents are in limbo right now because they don't know if they should start working on their home, they should not work on their home, should they, turn their titles in? And obviously time is of the essence. We live in Florida, there's no air conditioning, there's no electricity. What advice do you have? And I know, you're not gonna have all the answers, but what would you say?
My initial answer would be to do what any other homeowner would do, which is call your insurance adjuster. Have them come out, have them do the evaluation. It costs you nothing to do that, and you're required to do it if you were to pay for these costs. Whether the park is condemned would obviously impact what happens next, but your initial step is going to be to call your adjuster, call your park owner, try and open up lines of communication, see what they're working on. They're also probably waiting on their adjuster, and they're waiting on the county to come in. What timeline do you have? I really wouldn't know, and I doubt Lee County or Collier County or Charlotte County has a real ETA on when they're going to be condemning which park at which time. But opening that line of communication will be a good idea to feel out when your park is going to be serviced.
Okay, well, that's a great answer. So some communities have, had great communication with our residents. Some not so much. But if somebody was thinking about selling their home, what do they need to know? Is it, can the park tell them that they can't sell their house? Can the park tell them, depending on the condition? I mean, what should a homeowner know?
Sure. And what I've seen happening and what is actually supposed to happen are two different things. 7203058 lays out clearly what's supposed to happen. And that says that that no park owner can ever create a rule that prohibits or stops the sale in any way, meaning you can sell it to anybody. Typically, you're selling it to occupant who wants to move in, who wants to be there full time too, which has a different set of rules for occupancy. But as far as the sale goes, you're free to sell whenever. This hurricane should not impact you in any way to sell. Statutorily, it cannot prevent you from selling to any party. You might want to sell back to your park owner. You might want to sell to some third party, some purchaser. You have unlimited freedom in respects to your sale.
Great. Now, what about the communities where the park requires approval for you to sell your home or for that individual to be approved for the park? If the park is closed or they're not running applications, what do we tell our homeowners?
They're in a difficult spot. It looks logistically, at least, with regards to getting a potential occupant approved for application. We have had some issues so far running into certain parks are not processing applications, which is frustrating. You're under contract to sell by a certain deadline more often than not. What to do? What I would suggest is to either give us a call and see if we can help facilitate a little bit of logistical working throughs. We're close with a lot of the park owners. We're close with their attorneys, but you're likely going to have a few hurdles if the park is going, we're closed, we're risking condemnation, we're not sure if we're even approving applicants because we don't know if you can live here. They're facing with they've got difficult questions on their side of the table as well. We can help you work through it, but I don't have a firm answer of.
Okay. Now, some of our residents have newer homes that are within Zone 3 and can be transported, can be pulled out of these communities and brought somewhere else. Is there a time frame, post Ian, that we need that homeowners should have to remove their home if they want, in case the community is condemned?
I don't think you have a time frame. My suggestion would be to do it sooner rather than later. I'm assuming, and I don't know for certain, that once it's condemned, there's going to be a lot of red tape the county places on your access and the ability of third parties, say somebody who's going to be moving your
Right.
home off the park. You'll also likely want to communicate this to your park owner. Not that I don't think you have to because you do own that property, but you still would like to do that.
Yeah.
I would do it sooner rather than later. I wouldn't want to sit on it. Just like you're opening an insurance claim.
Yeah.
The sooner the better.
And obviously, if you are deciding to remove your home, you want to make sure whoever you hire to remove the home and transport it is licensed and insured. So let's talk a little bit about, because we had a ton of questions about lot rent. If there's no utilities, if there's no services to homeowners, if, for example, the services they provided before, the amenities are now no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
Are homeowners required to pay lot rent? I know some of the communities were waiving their lot rent for homeowners if they didn't have those amenities or utilities. Is that across the board? Is that what everyone should be doing, or is that kind of a gray area?
I think it's what everyone should be doing. As a park owner and as the park resident, you guys are in a contract together, meaning that you've got obligations and they have obligations. Some of those obligations are you must pay rent. Their obligations are they must provide amenities, they must provide this clubhouse, roads, access to those roads, etc. Some parks have the park owner providing the utilities, and you get a reduction in your rent or an increase in your rent. I would suggest that unless your park owner says otherwise, or unless the county condemns your park, that you must pay lot rent. You are contractually obligated to do so by virtue of your lease. Even without a lease, statutorily, by having your property on their land, you're required to pay rent as well, reasonable lot rent. So I would do that. I think that's in your best interest. I think not paying rent would just open up more litigation, more hassle, more trouble. But understand the park owner is under an equal obligation. While you're doing this, you're expecting something in return, amenities, access to the roads. You mentioned some park owners that are doing this on their own, kind of waiving it because they understand they can't fulfill their obligations. I think that's in their best interest. It goes back to opening up those lines of communication with your park owner, trying to communicate with them and see what they'll work with you on.
That's great information. So another question, what are my rights if the park remains open, but the community redefines which homes qualify to stay in the park? Will older homes and original setups be grandfathered in?
I don't know if there's a grandfathering process. I'm assuming code enforcement, Lee County, whichever Collier County or Charlotte County will come in and determine which homes are going to be condemned, which ones won't be, which ones will need to be destroyed, which ones won't be. It's not going to be a grandfathering in. I don't think it's going to be a blanket. Pre-2001 is going to be demolished,
Okay.
and everything post won't. I'm sure it'll be a case-by-case basis, as it should be.
Now, will that information be given to the park owner or to the homeowner?
I would assume it'd be given to the park owner
Okay.
first, and then you on an individual basis as your home is inspected.
Okay. If the community stays open and I choose to rebuild, what present or new regulations and codes will I be expected to follow to rebuild?
It's a great question. It's a great question. Typically, the rule is that if more than 50% of your home is required to be rebuilt, you are required to comply with the new coding enforcement rules that are standing in your county or your city, or for the people in Fort Myers Beach, the town of Fort Myers Beach. If it's less than 50%, you're able to rely on the codes that you had in place at the time your home was built.
Okay. One big question that was very concerning was a lot of homeowners were being told to turn their titles into the community in an effort to keep them from having to pay to have the home removed and the lot cleared. Can they do that?
No, they can't force you to do anything, right? You
Right.
own it, you hold title. What I have, and so I'll make this clear, right? Under the statute, there's an obligation of the park owner to clear any debris, any materials that you would need to be cleared to access the roads, the amenities, the common elements. As the park owner, or as the unit owner, excuse me, you're required to clear your own lot. So if your home is destroyed to an extent where you've got debris on your yard, you're responsible for cleaning that up. Most of the rules and regulations in the park owners require this anyways, but in the event it doesn't, and you're looking through your prospectus and you don't see that, the statute makes it clear that you, as your own owner, have your own lot that you're required to clean.
Okay.
That has a lot of cost to it. Some park owners are offering where your home is completely destroyed and it's not worth the hassle to you anymore. Say you're a seasonal visitor. They're offering to you give me the title and I will clean it up for you. I'll save you these costs.
Okay.
And oftentimes, because the home is destroyed to such that level, you're getting a good bargain for that deal.
Okay.
But it is your option. It's your deal.
So if my park owner, if my park ownership confirms in writing to rebuild scheduled, a rebuild scheduled for my community, and I choose to say potentially rebuild, what are my considerations?
Your considerations would be the cost of rebuilding. Is it worth it to you?
Okay.
Is it worth investing that additional sums to do this? Is your insurance going to be paying any portion of that cost? Or is it a better investment to buy a home somewhere else in a different county, in a different park? I would say just run the numbers and do what's best for you and your family.
Can my community delay or restrict the transfer of title of my home until all hurricane damage is completed on my home? So I think what they're trying to say is, and I think you answered this earlier, but just to be clear, we've gotten questions from homeowners that maybe had hurricane damage, and the community, as per the prospectus, is requiring them to complete the hurricane damage. So for example, if a carport was removed or there was damage to the home that doesn't align with the prospectus where they have to have a carport or a Florida room or a storage shed, can they still sell their house? Can they keep them from selling their house? I know right now it's really hard to get materials, so it's not necessarily realistic that these things would be done in a timely manner due to the circumstances. So can a park do that?
The short answer is no. No, the park owner can't stop you from selling in any way, which would be transferring title through the DMV to a new purchaser. Of course, the park owner is going to hold that new purchaser to cleaning up the debris and making sure that carport's built back or removed from their neighbor's yard, wherever it might be. But that is a risk that your purchaser might be willing to assume. And if they are, then you have no concerns, and the park owner can't try and wedge themselves between your deal.
Okay, so for example, if your carport was, ripped off and you still wanted to sell your home, as long as they had something maybe in writing between the park and that new purchaser, stating that within a timely manner, the repairs were done, then you think that would be okay?
I think that would be more than sufficient, and I think that would make the park owner put at ease if they're concerned with the cleanup.
Okay, awesome. Now, we had talked a little bit about questions that maybe you think people might not be asking? Maybe are there any questions that you think we should be asking ourselves, or
I think the biggest questions people are asking right now are, what happens if my park is condemned? Do I still pay rent at that point? My initial response is absolutely not. If the park is condemned, the park owner is basically released from all obligations. So who would you be paying rent to? A
Okay.
park that doesn't exist, that isn't in operations anymore? Um, a lot of these questions, though, that they have are there. I don't have an answer for every immediate question, right? And I don't know what's really going to happen when it's condemned. But my suggestion is again, talk to your park owners, open up these lines of communications, and see what are they expecting you to do after they are condemned, if that does happen, and see what that position is. If that position is ridiculous and they're looking to not refund anyone who's prepaid the rent or not, or still wanting to collect it, then you might want to seek our help. You might want to ask for our services, and we'll give you the number afterwards so you guys can call us. But that's probably something that they're going to want to struggle with. Other questions I've seen are those sitting on a board in charge of the association that are risking condemnation.
Mm-hmm.
They're wondering if they can liquidate their accounts and release all their monies and share it amongst everyone who needs it.
Okay.
Maybe one home is destroyed more than another, and the board wants to help them. Again, my advice is no. Act as if you're an association. Act as if you're still a board that's in full operations, and understand you have financial obligations you need to maintain as a board member.
That brings up a really good point. Some of the communities we work in don't even have HOAs. If you could take a moment and talk about the importance of an HOA in a community that's land leased versus not having an HOA.
Oh, it's incredibly important. I mean, the park owner is more often than not a multi-billion-dollar or multi-million-dollar company. They've got attorneys in their back pockets, they've got appraisers, they've got people that are computing market rent, and they're setting these bars very high. An association is a body that speaks for the entire homeowner's body. It's a vehicle that not only can you bring your concerns to as a homeowner, but it's also a vehicle that can hire attorneys, that can fight and pool resources, because as a pooled resource, you're much stronger and much better off.
I think from just experience, I see that, communities that have HOAs in place and board members in place that have, attorneys, you don't see those sort of increases in rents. You see a more hands-on approach with management because they know that they're being held accountable for. Not all communities, I'm not saying communities out there are bad or that have bad intentions, but it's just about accountability. And if they know that, they're going to be held accountable and there are people out there that are paying attention and they have legal counsel to tell them, yes, they can do that or no, they can't. It really carries a lot of weight in getting things done in your community. So I can't, speak more about that. It's really, the number one thing I would do if I wanted to be in a community is make sure we had a strong HOA that, was involved in the community and the interest of the homeowners. So we had some questions about FEMA. Is FEMA a grant or a loan? Is it a grant or a loan?
I don't think it's a loan. I'm assuming it'd be somewhere along the grant lines,
Okay.
But I'm in need of help and the government is offering this aid.
Gotcha.
You don't owe them the money back.
And again, we're not saying you work for FEMA, you know everything, but do you know what qualifications people need to have to get a FEMA assistance?
I don't have the exact qualifications. I do know there are several numbers, which I'm assuming we can provide in a Dropbox or something like that in the description. There's several different numbers, some for mobile homes, some for marine vessels, and some for general homes, condos. All different and great resources. They're standing by. There's a lot of additional callers. Obviously, given the hurricane issue, there's a lot of different people answering those calls. So it's all hands on deck and all their information's at your fingertips.
Do they have to pay back the money? So we're talking about condemnation. If someone receives money for their home and the community gets condemned, do they have to give that money back?
I don't know how any money you're receiving from FEMA would fully operate.
Okay.
I just don't have the information,
Okay.
but definitely a great question to ask FEMA.
Can you clarify any other FEMA misinformation that may be out there?
I haven't heard any misinformation from FEMA. I've heard a lot of questions of going, where do I go? Where do I register? Who do I call? We'll provide all those numbers for them, but generally any information you're going to receive from whoever you're calling is solid, the best information you can
Okay.
get, and better than Joe Schmo on TV.
Awesome. So let's go on to insurance. Do you have any suggestions on how to deal with insurance companies um, and working with public adjusters?
My suggestion was understand who they work for, right? They work for a company that you pay premium on a premium basis monthly. They have their own interest to serve, and it's not always your interest. So my suggestion is to make a call to your insurance company, have the adjuster come out. Obviously, you want to work closely with them, but in the event they give you an adjustment that's just absolutely not going to fully compensate you for your losses, you feel that your policy limits exceed what they're going to be giving you, um, hire your own contractor, reach out to different contractors, reach out to a different public adjuster, and have somebody give you documents that say, I'm entitled to more, my policy entitles me to more, or what they're saying my damage is not fully encompassed in this bid.
Okay. Um, what is the recommended action for a homeowner if an insurance adjuster has proposed a low payout claim? File an appeal, hire an independent adjuster, call you.
It would be, you can call us and we'll walk you through the steps, but our initial steps are to hire your own contractor, hire your own adjuster, so that you have a bid that you can take to your insurance company and you can, without filing a lawsuit, still argue with them over what's going to be the best course of action going forward. And of course, if it does escalate to litigation, you've already contacted your attorney, or if you haven't, you may. And we can assist you with insurance claims. We do that very often, but yeah, they should be able to take care of it for you.
David, what is your advice for homeowners who perhaps didn't have insurance and are struggling through this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's going to be a number of issues they're facing. One is going to be the cost of everything to tackle. Um, my my first piece of advice is to know your rights. You are obligated to clean up your debris on your lot and to take care of your home. For some people, that's an exorbitant amount of cost, and you're not able to tackle it. Um, Again, you feel free to call us, and we'll kind of walk you through those issues one at a time. But it is a task that you're going to be struggled with, and you need to understand that you are responsible for taking care of those issues. Um, my biggest piece of advice to do after that is, once you understand what you need to do, is to call either a licensed general contractor or a private adjuster to come in and evaluate your loss. How much loss are you actually facing? Especially if you're going to bear the cost 100%, you're going to want to know what that is. Um, Usually, we advise people to get either 2 or 3 different bids from different contractors. Obviously, make sure that they're all licensed. You don't want an unlicensed individual working on your home. They're not going to be able to get the right permits, and you're going to be walking into a lot of disasters while you're living in an unpermitted home, but also when you go to sell, if you ever choose to do so. Get 2 or 3 different estimates so you can get a ballpark range of what you're looking at. Some contractors might be very busy, so they're going to be skyrocketing their prices. Others might be giving you more fair price. And I think with 3, maybe even 4, if you're feeling you need to do it, you'll get a good range of what that cost is going to be. And then you'll have to, finance that endeavor. But that would be my advice, and you go that way. Definitely what you do not want to do is hire an unlicensed contractor or have, your brother from up north come in.
And we've all seen that. I mean,
Right.
especially during this time, everyone is, running around trying to find someone to cover the roof, to work on their, we've seen that, but the risk is not worth it. At the end of the day, if you have somebody working on your home and they're not licensed, they're not insured, then the liability is there, and you may come out with a bigger problem than you started with.
I absolutely agree, 100%. 100% agree.
Do you have any helpful information about appealing claims ruling?
There is helpful information. Generally, the appeal process would be to file a lawsuit and challenge them with a breach of the contract, basically.
Okay. Thoughts on potential class action lawsuits dealing with wind-generated storm surge versus traditional flooding?
I have heard this question before.
Okay.
I am not a fan of the class action suit.
Okay.
I think, especially given Hurricane Ian, right? Some people were impacted heavily by wind. Some people were heavily impacted by surge. 2 different coverages, though. 2 different perils that the insurance company's looking at, going, well, you're covered, but you're not, and you're covered, but you're not. every single person has their different policy with a different carrier.
Mhm.
I think pooling all of that together and saying, you know, hey, Citizens insurance carrier, you owe us all this is a hard task to do. If you were the insurance company, it's a hard task to just to digest. Everyone has suffered a little bit differently. You know, someone might have lost a roof, some might have lost a few windows, some might lost a couch, some might not. My suggestion is to take it on a case by case basis. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think, and now I think I'm done with my questions, but I appreciate you being here and thank you so much. And we will provide David's contact information, his Facebook, no, I'm just kidding. We'll provide all of his contact information for his law firm in case you guys have additional legal counsel needed, as well as their website. And thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming and